The town of Hollowbrook had many dark tales, but none were more whispered about than the legend of Blackthorn Lane. Parents warned their children not to go trick-or-treating there, but every Halloween, the bravest or most foolish would venture to the edge of town, lured by the promise of candy and the thrill of danger. Blackthorn Lane was a street that seemed to exist in its own time, its shadowy presence a constant reminder of the past's chilling grip. It was said that long ago on Halloween night, a group of children disappeared after visiting the last house on Blackthorn Lane. Their bodies were never found, but eerie whispers about a curse began to circulate. Some said they had been taken by an old witch who lived in the lane's darkest house, while others spoke of a door to another world, opened by the children's innocent laughter. The houses on the lane were abandoned soon after, left to rot under the watchful eye of the full moon. As the years passed, Blackthorn Lane was mostly forgotten, its legend fading to myth, until Halloween night 2024. 13-year-old Emma and her friends Lucas, Jenny, and Ryan stood at the intersection where Maple Street met Blackthorn Lane. Their bags were already heavy with candy from the more welcoming parts of town, but there was an electric buzz in the air as they stared at the overgrown road leading into darkness. "I heard they give out full-sized candy bars at the last house," Lucas said, his eyes wide with mischief. He was always the first to suggest something reckless. Emma bit her lip, glancing at Jenny and Ryan. Jenny looked uneasy, tugging at her witch hat nervously, while Ryan, ever the skeptic, shrugged. "It's just a story," Ryan said. "There's no witch, no curse. It's probably just old people who forgot to move away." "Or a ghost," Jenny muttered, half joking but clearly nervous. "Whatever it is," Lucas grinned, "we're not going to chicken out, right? I mean, we're not kids anymore." Emma felt a chill as the wind picked up, rustling the leaves that littered the entrance to Blackthorn Lane. She had heard the stories growing up. Her parents had warned her, just like all the other parents did. But part of her felt a thrill at the thought of doing something so forbidden. It wasn't like they actually believed in ghosts or witches, right? "Fine," Emma said, her voice steadying. "Let's do it. But just one house and then we go back." With a collective breath, the group stepped onto Blackthorn Lane. The street was eerily silent, the usual sounds of Halloween, children laughing, distant music, fading as they moved further into the shadows. The houses here were different too, old, forgotten relics of another time. Windows were cracked or boarded up, and vines snaked across crumbling brick walls. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of unseen eyes watching them from the darkened doorways. "I don't like this," Jenny whispered, clutching her bag tightly. "Maybe we should turn back." "We're almost there," Lucas said, though his voice had lost some of its bravado. "Just one house." The further they walked, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The street lamps on Blackthorn Lane had long stopped working, leaving only the pale glow of the moon to guide their way. A thick mist began to curl around their feet, adding to the surrealness of the moment. Finally, they reached the last house. It stood at the end of the lane, tall and imposing, as if it had been waiting for them. The house was unlike the others. It wasn't just abandoned, it felt wrong. The windows were dark, the front door slightly ajar, swaying ever so gently in the breeze. There was no sign of life, no Halloween decorations, just the looming presence of the house itself, shrouded in shadow. "Okay, let's just knock and go," Emma said, her heart pounding in her chest. Lucas, always the boldest, walked up the steps and rapped on the door. The sound echoed unnaturally, as if the house itself was absorbing it. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched on, making the hairs on the back of Emma's neck stand up. Then the door creaked open. No one was there. Maybe we should go," Jenny said, taking a step back. But before anyone could move, a voice drifted from inside the house. Soft, barely a whisper, but unmistakable. "Come in!" Lucas froze, his hand still raised in mid-knock. Emma felt her stomach drop. The voice was wrong, like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. She could see the fear in her friend's eyes. Even Ryan, who was usually the most logical, looked unnerved. "We should leave," Emma said, her voice trembling. But Lucas, as if in a trance, took a step forward. "Hello?" he called into the dark house. "Lucas, stop!" Emma hissed, grabbing his arm. But it was too late. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving the rest of them outside in the cold night air. Emma screamed and pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Lucas! Lucas!" Jenny was in tears, yanking at the door handle, but it was as if the house had sealed itself. Suddenly, a cold laugh echoed from within, a sound that made Emma's blood run cold. It wasn't Lucas. It was something else, something ancient and cruel. The laughter grew louder, and with it came whispers, hundreds of them swirling around Emma and her friends, their words incomprehensible but full of malice. Emma stumbled back, her heart racing. "We need to get help!" she cried, grabbing Jenny and Ryan by the arms. "Now!" They turned to run, but the mist had thickened, rising up to their knees, slowing their movements. The air grew colder, biting at their skin, and the street behind them seemed to stretch. The exit to Blackthorn Lane fading into the distance. "Emma, I can't," Jenny gasped, her voice shaking. "Keep moving," Emma urged, her own fear threatening to overwhelm her. But no matter how hard they tried, the street seemed endless, as if the lane itself was bending reality, trapping them in its dark grasp. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if whatever lurked in the shadows was closing in. Just when Emma thought she couldn't take it anymore, a flash of light appeared ahead. Someone was coming, an adult, a figure moving through the mist toward them. Relief flooded through her. "Help! Please help!" she screamed. But as the figure drew closer, Emma's relief turned to horror. The person's face was pale, too pale, and their eyes were hollow, empty voids. Their mouth was twisted into a grotesque grin as they reached out, beckoning them forward. "No!" Emma shrieked, pulling Jenny and Ryan back. But it was too late. The figure lunged, its icy fingers brushing against Emma's skin, and everything went dark. The next morning, the town of Hollowbrook awoke to find 3 empty trick-or-treat bags lying at the entrance to Blackthorn Lane. The children were never seen again. Some say they still wander the lane, their voices lost among the whispers, forever trapped in the curse of Blackthorn Lane, waiting for the next group of trick-or-treaters to join them. But no one dares to knock on the last house anymore. Not after what happened to Emma and her friends.